Margaret Wright is truly a woman of inspiration, determination, and love. Watching her on her journey has made a huge impact on my life. 7 years ago, Margaret was expecting her third child. At 27 weeks, Margaret was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. She was not only stunned by the diagnosis, but was faced with a very difficult decision to induce labor at 34 weeks so she could begin chemotherapy.
The neonatologist and the high-risk OBs told us that 34-weekers usually do very well and don't even have to spend much time in the NICU. And she stayed there for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, the nurse called me and said that I could come and get her. And as I was packing my bags that afternoon, they called me, and Nicole had spiked a fever, and they were going to have to keep her for testing. They called me later that evening and told me that they had discovered that Nicole had bacterial meningitis.
As the weeks went on, it became obvious that Nicole had delays beyond what a premature infant, and at 6 months, she was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Understandably, Margaret felt fear, coupled with guilt. Could this diagnosis be the result of a premature delivery?
Oh God, it was awful. It was awful. I had gone to the evaluation by myself, just in denial, I guess, that something was wrong. And I was just crying, and it was just heartbreaking. You know, because I was still doing chemo when we found out that she had cerebral palsy. So it was just a lot. It was just a lot of trials going through at one time, and it was heartbreaking.
Physicians referred Nicole to the Tennessee Early Intervention System and to High Hopes. And in 2011, Nicole began physical therapy and occupational therapy at High Hopes.
High Hopes has made a huge impact on our family. Just walking through the doors of High Hopes for the first time, I didn't really know what to expect. Kristen Garner was the one who did our first evaluation at High Hopes. Kristen is very excellent with Nicole. She knows Nicole well, and we've worked with Kristen for years. She developed an exercise plan that I could do with Nicole, and that really helped heal the guilt that I was feeling and carrying, and still carry somewhat to this day.
Then the unthinkable happened. After being cancer-free for 5 years, Margaret relapsed and had to begin a second round of chemo and radiation. She had to spend 30 days in isolation at Vanderbilt, unable to see her family.
Nicole was in a 3-day-a-week preschool program, and High Hopes called me. Gail Powell called me and asked me if we would like for Nicole to be at High Hopes for the other 2 days when she wasn't in school. And that was a huge help for us because we didn't have to worry about childcare on those days. I was able to rest or go to chemo or whatever it was that I needed to do.
But even during that very difficult time, Margaret still found the strength to co-chair High Hopes' annual Strings and Stories fundraiser. Today, Margaret is 18 months cancer-free and will be co-chairing the High Hopes fundraiser for the 4th year. And although she has every right to be focused on herself, she is a true model of selflessness and service to others.
High Hopes really has been so much more than just therapy for us. They've been like family. They've been a huge support group for us through my relapse and recovery as well.
Nicole is now in the 1st grade at public school. She still gets physical therapy and therapy evaluations at High Hopes. She always will. But even though the doctors predicted that she might never walk, talk, or do other things children do, Nicole has defied the odds and does all of those things.
So for Nicole, I don't have fears for her future. I feel like she's in God's hands, and I feel like she's going to be fine and do fine. I feel like she's going to be married and well educated and have children, and she's going to have an incredible, amazing life. For myself, I don't fear that I'm going to have cancer again. I don't think that I'm not, but I know that I'm in God's hands, and the book of James tells us that we should be considered a pure joy to have trials in this life, because trials increase our perseverance, and our increased perseverance increases our faith. And that's what my trials have done for me in my life, for both myself and for Nicole, is they've brought me closer to God. And I wouldn't change a thing.